Hello? Hello and welcome to this enlightED stage on South Summit 2019, Day 2. How are you? Ooh, you are. You bet you are. My name is Elena, and I am thrilled to be back on this fantastic, beautiful, enlightED stage this afternoon. We have, well, I'm not going to say anything. You've read the program, and if you didn't, even better. We'll surprise you. We're going to start with our first panel, the future of learning. And the American human rights activist Malcolm X said, and I quote, "Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today." So I wonder, and I'm sure you do as well, how do we prepare for the future? And moreover, what is the future of learning? Well, here to discuss this subject and give us all the answers, we have an amazing panel. Their moderator is a man that has been part of Telefónica for the past 20 years, although he looks much younger than that. In 2011, his passion for technology and innovation took him alongside Telefónica's president, José María Álvarez Payete, to create WIRA, Telefónica's innovation hub. Therefore, despite being the Chief Innovation Officer of Telefónica, those who know him and love him, we always call him WIRA Man. Please, let's welcome Gonzalo Martín-Villa. Gonzalo, please. Okay, and his panelists are coming to join him on stage. They are three, and the first guest is the founder and CEO of Babbel, the top grossing language app in the world that is revolutionizing language learning. Please, let's welcome Markus Witte. Markus. His second guest was a key architect at the BBC's digital transformation for over 12 years, and since 2012, he's the CEO of FutureLearn, a new online learning venture offering open online courses from leading UK and international universities. Please, let's welcome Simon Nelson. Simon, welcome. Last guest. He has dedicated his life to solving a problem he and his co-founder had in their teens, learning something new. As simple and as difficult as that. So he started Openclassrooms to open the doors to others who want to access an accessible, affordable, high-quality education. Please, let's welcome Pierre Dubuc. Bienvenue, Pierre. And now I'm going to hand it to Gonzalo. He's going to give them some, yep. No, we can't. No.
Shall I shout? Okay.
No. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. Next time you present me saying that I've been working for Telefónica for more than 20 years, I'm going to kill you.
I know. We were born the same year, so.
Yeah. I look much older. Okay, thank you very much, Elena. It's a great pleasure to be here with you guys. Great pleasure to be in this panel, no? Because the title of this panel is The Future of Learning. I love that title. No? Sometimes when people ask me what we do in innovation in Telefónica, I always say the same thing. We try to invent the future of Telefónica. No? So here we're looking to invent the future of learning, no? Which is very necessary now. So this is how we're going to work. These are going to be the rules of the panel. You're going to have 5 minutes. You have the timer over there, so we're going to be very hard on that. So you're going to have 5 minutes to talk about yourself, your business, what you do. Markus, if you want to go first.
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes.
Okay.
So I'm Markus, CEO and one of the founders of Babbel. Babbel today is the top grossing language learning app in the world. It's a business of around 750 people, mostly in Berlin, some of them in New York. And we started this years ago, even on your scale. That was in 2007. And I'm with my co-founders was working on a music tech platform. That's what we knew. Music tech was our world. And one of my beloved co-founders came to one of our prototype meetings and said, I tried to learn language on the internet, and there's nothing that helped me. And I was like, come on, let me help you. Use Google. Back then, we found out there was nothing on the internet that could help you learn a language, and we thought, like so many arrogant tech people, we thought, how hard can it be to solve that problem? The unfortunate answer I can give 12 years, more than 12 years later, is very. It was very, very hard. We were completely lacking the didactical expertise, which was absolutely critical. So the first product that we built was loved and it was famous, but you could never learn something with it, which was pretty much a problem. And we had to bring people on board who know their business. And that is the one thing for me, my personal learning and looking back, that tech solves a ton of problems. If you do machine learning and whatever, fine. But there are areas where you actually have to listen to specialists who actually know what they're doing. And the more you deal with humans, the more that seems to be the case. So talking to people who actually understand how people learn languages, for us, was the crucial step from a promising tech startup that would have gone down to a business that's now thriving and will keep on growing over the foreseeable future. And what we built with that, by bringing teachers together with engineers and product people, is, I think, what makes a ton of sense in this whole area. That is not only porting what we know of learning and education into a new medium, but reinventing it and understanding how can this specific medium, first the internet, later the app world, how can this contribute to actual learning, and how does it tie in to how people live, how they live their days, and how they want to learn. So that is, I think, the question at stake. It's not only a tech question, it's not only an AI question that will solve this for us. It is ultimately learning as a human question. And that is what we as 4 tech founders learned more and more, and I'm still learning that. I'm still seeing that this is one of the key problems. And what our product does is, in contrast to a lot of other language learning digital offers that you find today, is it gets you speaking. So our focus is to get you speaking in the real world, to have a real life conversation, to communicate with other people, and not understand grammar or learn vocabulary or be better at our app. That's not the idea. It's not a game. It's something that enables you to actually speak a language. And taking that seriously, for us, made all the difference in the world.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Markus. Your turn, Simon.
Okay, so it's delightful to be here. Lo siento, no hablo español, muy poco. I need to use Babbel, perhaps. I started FutureLearn 6 years ago. And at the time, we were entering into the world of MOOCs. So I hope many of you know that word, MOOCs, massive open online courses. And companies like Coursera, Myriad X launched into this space. And the noise at the time was that these companies would transform access to education and solve many of the world's educational ills. Now, of course, those claims were far too grand for what was happening. But so were the claims of those people who went to the other side and said, this is just a fad, a phase, a fashion. These will disappear and we don't need to worry about them. What we have found at FutureLearn and have watched other players in our market do is evolve over time and actually act as, we believe, a catalyst for very significant innovation that is now happening, finally, you might say, in higher education, around digital education. And the need for that digital transformation is only getting greater. The gap between those who would like access to high-quality education and the supply of that education is only widening. Our estimates that we have worked with Ernst & Young to develop suggests that you would have to build 14 new universities every week, serving 25,000 students if you wanted to catch up with the rise in demand by 2030. And that is simply not going to happen. In addition, you have widening skills gaps in every developed society in the world as well as developing society. Huge demand for teachers, for nurses and other healthcare workers, for digital skills, for engineers. That traditional education has not been able to serve. And when you layer on the impact that artificial intelligence and the automation of huge swathes of jobs across societies will bring, you have a massive need, an urgent need, to bring lifelong learning to people and to encourage educational establishments to now think way beyond the traditional student that they serve within their buildings. So FutureLearn and other companies like us are moving to try and bridge this gap between the supply of and demand for high-quality education. And the principles we are following are a few. We believe that the future of learning is mobile, and it still pains me that many of the services that I see trying to teach digital learning don't work on this device. We think that learning needs to be flexible, and that means that you should be able to learn while you work alongside your other activities and interests in life or responsibilities, and that the learning you do should be able to be stacked over time to build into more valuable qualifications. And therefore, the traditional degree, master's or undergraduate, is something that needs to be broken down and made more flexible for learners. And at FutureLearn, the way that we have tried to differentiate is to make our learning platform social, to encourage people to learn together and to learn from each other, not just from an instructor. And so we are now 6 years old. We've just taken a large investment to enable us to try to build on the foundations we have and work with our partners to really fulfill that early promise, to really now try and transform access to education. Thanks.
Thank you, Simon. Pierre?
Hi. My name is Pierre. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Openclassrooms, which is a Paris-based startup company in education. Started this company 6 years ago as a mission-driven company. Our mission is to make education accessible. And it's been like this actually since 1999, because we started before being a company. We started this project as a hobby when I was 11 years old in middle school. Started to build online courses, the courses we wish we had at school, on web development. So we built those courses, published them online for free to help some friends, and then it grew and grew, and we worked on this parallel to our studies to build this online learning community over 10 years. It became the reference platform to learn how to code in French. And then years after, finally, we graduated and decided to make it our full-time job. That's Openclassrooms. So our mission is to make education accessible, and especially professional education. Education leading to jobs, education leading to a better employability, leading to tomorrow's jobs, tomorrow's skills. So we became, as an online platform, we became an online college with degree awarding powers. So what we do is right now, we offer 50 programs leading to 50 degrees and 50 jobs. We work mostly on fields of studies like tech jobs, software development, data, science, cybersecurity, digital marketing, but also more traditional jobs impacted by technology, like human resources, management, sales, communication, finance. We cover 50 jobs. We tie degrees together with jobs through what we call a job guarantee. So it means that if you graduate from Openclassrooms, we guarantee you a job after 6 months of your graduation date, a job that is aligned to your degree, or we will refund your tuition fees. To offer that, we support and coach every student on a one-on-one basis via video conference every week. So every week, you'll have mentorship sessions with your mentor on a one-on-one basis. You'll have career coaching. We'll match you with employers. Today, we train 3 million students a month in 140 different countries. We work with employers to upskill their employees, to reskill their employees, and to help them hire their next talent. We work with 1,000 employers right now. A couple of examples, and especially on reskilling, because as Simon said, right now there's a massive displacement of jobs. So we have jobs disappearing and new jobs being created, and employers need to reduce the number of jobs on job A and increase the number of jobs on job B. So for example, we work for Amazon in their fulfillment centers, with the workers literally packing orders. And as fulfillment centers at Amazon are getting more and more automated, more robots packing orders, the productivity is rising, so they need less and less workers on the floor packing orders. So what we do is that we reskill them, we make them switch careers, and they go from earning $15 an hour to becoming software engineers, data analysts, product managers, to work on the actual robots that they build, and double or triple their salary. So this is what we do. We work directly on the impact of technology, creating this skills gap. We reduce, on one hand, unemployment. We increase the employability of our students, and we're there to fix the talent shortage for employers.
Thank you very much, Pierre. Let me open the debate asking you some questions, topics that you have touched already, but maybe we can go deeper on those. No, maybe the first question for you, but please feel free to jump in. And the first question is something that has affected me. I think one of the problems that online courses have is the dropouts, no? And it has happened to me, no? What are the key things, no, to keep students motivated, no, keep them engaged in the courses? Maybe for you, Markus.
So there, of course, there's a couple of things that you can do and have to do. I think this equation has two sides. You try to motivate on the one hand, and you try not to frustrate on the other hand, because truth is that often people don't stop learning because they're not motivated enough, but there's a certain amount of frustration that you have with almost everything that you do, right? So language learning, for instance, is hard.
Maybe language it's different from you, because language is very frustrating, no? Because you want to use it and you realize that you're not improving enough, no?
Well, and you have to spend time, and you have to create a habit, and so on, and then you use an app, and no app in the world, not even Babbel, is perfect. So you will run into problems and think this is not working. So trying to reduce frustration and kind of the use of motivation is almost more important than cranking up motivation. Somebody just once said, if you want somebody to swim across a lake who can't swim, you can offer them whatever you want. They won't swim. So you have to break it down into easy steps, and that's what we try to do to make the experience more rewarding. What we in our research found is the single most important motivator, on the other hand, is if people actually use a language in real life, if they apply skills that they've learned. It's not giving them stars or crystals or or additional points or having a leaderboard, but the actual experience that, wow, I just spent whatever, an hour with this app, and I can have a very simple conversation. That is where motivation hits. And having that as often as you can is the biggest motivator that we have.
Okay. Simon, Pierre?
So in our case, we did a lot of thinking about this from the very beginning and as we were designing the platform, because one of the things that the MOOC platforms we were looking at were being strongly criticized for was dropout rates. And that's part of the reason we focused on social as our key differentiator. And we built FutureLearn effectively as a social network for learning. And the reasons for that were we wanted online learning to feel like a communal experience, like something where you were doing it with other people, and it could not replicate a classroom, but some of the feeling that you are progressing with a fellow community of people and overcoming challenges together was what we wanted to bring into the platform. And we have found that people who interact socially are 5 times more likely to complete a course than those who do not. And then every year that goes by, we gather more data about how courses have performed. And that data is down to a very granular level on which types of exercise or which types of content are more successful, where are dropouts more likely, what types of courses, what quality thresholds are at play within these courses. And we use that to go back to our academic communities and try to educate them and improve and constantly improve the quality of the courses as they go through FutureLearn. And I think that is, of course, one of the most powerful opportunities we've got, the vast access to dynamic data that we believe can significantly improve the teaching process.
Thank you, Simon.
So for us at Openclassrooms, the way to increase engagement and completion rates, first of all, is the mentorship. Mentorship is basically having an industry practitioner every week via video conference. A person who is hired, trained, paid, and rated by Openclassrooms. So for the next 12 months on your degree program, you'll meet your mentor 50 times and spend an hour every time via video conference. So that's the first point. The second point is the incentive of completion to get a degree and get a job. So when we have an employer committing to hire you from day one, and this is what we do through our online apprenticeship programs, our completion rates on a degree program are at 93%. So it's more than double in-person university education. So the incentive of getting a job, something that will change your life, basically, is definitely one of the critical factors in increasing the completion rate and the engagement.
Let me go, because that's very interesting. Let me go deeper on that. Maybe a question for you, Simon. Is this becoming a standard in this kind of business, like how students, the ratio of students that get a job after following those courses? Is this like a standard for the industry? This is a very important thing on your business?
Yeah, so I'd say we, like other players in our market, began very much driven by universities, and as a result, with quite a wide range of academic content. And we've been very successful in providing that and innovating around those areas. But there's no question that where the content meets employability requirements and skills gaps, the chances of, well, the popularity of those courses, the likelihood of people being committed to them is much higher. And where you can bring an employer alongside the educator in order to give meaningful outcomes and real credibility not just academic credibility, but the credibility that means you will get a new job, or you will learn new skills for your job, or you will progress in your job. That is unquestionably one of the most powerful extensions you can give to an online course, and definitely an increasing direction of travel for ourselves, and we see this happening across the market.
Okay. One question, also a little bit personal. My best friend is a teacher. What is his future? I mean, this is the typical conversation I have in a bar with a beer with him, but maybe you can help.
I mean, I think that teacher has a very exciting future. Teachers, I'm married to one, what we've found on FutureLearn is they are some of the most motivated learners we have on the platform. Actually, I think the possibility for a teacher to develop their own skills and to innovate within the classroom, not in terms of just delivering fundamental basic learning, but in terms of supporting learning through technology and enabled by technology, and enabling then a focus on higher level skills like creativity, teamwork, etc. I think if your friend feels, I just like my job and I don't want it to change, there could be challenges. But if, like many teachers, your friend wants to innovate, wants to move forward, wants to educate, the tools that are coming at their disposal are incredible.
So you have to look at this more as an opportunity than a risk, no, for them. Maybe Markus, you want to comment on that?
I totally agree. I've been teaching myself, and the one thing that I deeply believe about teaching that extends to what I deeply believe about life is it's about learning. So you can't possibly be a good teacher if you don't learn. And what I think, what we've seen is, and what we've as tech people learned, is how valuable the knowledge and the skills are that teachers have, that they inherently have, and that's an old body of knowledge that has developed over hundreds of years, depending on subject, and we need those people, and we need those skills, and I think my field is languages, and that is inherently human. So you want to speak to a human, you want a human teacher at some point. And yes, we're selling an app that's a purely digital product, but there's no kidding, the best way to learn a language is from and with other people in the room. So what we do is we prepare people with the app for a real-life situation. And it's funny because over time, when we started, language schools were scared of us. They thought, oh yeah, you'll push us out of business. Today, they know that people coming to their courses started with Babbel and then said, oh yeah, I got to a point where I want to be in a classroom and where I want to work with a real teacher. And in the language field, the good news is it won't go away. In other fields, I think it's slightly different. If it comes to math and programming languages, I think digital learning is way more advanced. But so that there's digital learning solutions that do with very little teacher impact. But I think across the board, we don't have enough teachers, and we will never have enough teachers. And the skills and mindsets that these people have and bring in is what we need for future. The future of learning is not just machines. It's people.
Yeah.
For us, is really there is a real split between two different types of teachers at Openclassrooms. So we currently have roughly 200 teachers and 1,200 mentors. And I would say mentors are a new type of teachers. So teachers for us are there to design and build the curriculum. They are the face in the videos of the MOOCs that you see on website. They were there to design the assessment, the projects, the exercises, the content, and they're there to lead the academic accuracy of the curricula, let's say. Mentors and coaches are there to help and drive students to go through, to motivate them, to give them best practices, to help them out every day. So it's really a one-on-one relationship they have with students. Usually mentors are industry practitioners, so they're really like in the field and they're sharing what they know of the job and what they know of their own industry. And I could definitely see the two different paths, and I would say that traditional education might be easily impacted right now by technology. And when you think about, for example, flipped classrooms on campus, it starts to be this way. You have a more theoretical part that could be done by a teacher, and then a more practical engagement and a practical pedagogy that might be project-based or group-based. And then you need a teaching assistant, a TA, who could be similar to what we call a mentor.
Okay, maybe for you also, moving a little bit, we always hear on TV and in many presentations, no, and we listen all the time that the jobs of the future, no, what my kids are going to be in the future are jobs that don't even exist, no, they're going to be very different from what we see today. Is the education system prepared for that future of the jobs, or?
So let me give you some data on that. So Gallup, the survey company in the States, ran the survey just a few years ago in the USA. They asked college leaders if they think their graduates are well prepared for the skills they will need to find a job. Are your graduates prepared to go and work right now in the job market? The answer is 96% said yes. 96% said, yes, all my graduates, they're ready for the workforce, no problem. They have the skills employers need. When they ask the recent graduates, so the graduates who are out there looking for a job or who already started a job, do you think you were well prepared and you had the skills required by your employer? What do you think they said? 14% said yes. 14 said we are well prepared. And then they asked the employers, the companies, do you think that the graduates you hire are well prepared? 12% said yes. So you see this gap, it's amazing. Like college leaders are like, yeah, we're delivering well and we're doing our job. And when you talk to the actual users, the learners, the graduates, the employers, they say no. This has to change. This has to change right now because the gap is widening. And right now it's not just about the young graduates, it's also about the existing workforce. So by 2030, you'll need to reskill 1 billion people in the workforce. At least 30% of the jobs being impacted by technology. So 1 billion people to reskill in about 10 years. On the skills we need right now and on the skills that don't even exist, that will be there in the next 5 years. This needs to change right now.
Simon, you want to comment on that?
I completely agree, as I normally do, with Pierre. And
this great guy from the UK being in favor of a French guy.
Yeah. I mean, Pierre's about 23, so he's got a bit to learn still. Okay. But I think he has a useful insight. The education sector is nowhere near ready for the scale of the challenge. I don't want to generalize too much because, of course, there are pockets of fantastic innovation that many of us know about. But it isn't getting anywhere near the scale of the challenge. The reskilling, the retraining challenge that Pierre has just mentioned. The rise in middle classes in developing countries all around the world that's creating that huge demand that I'm speaking about. And yet we deal in universities, adult education. I would say most universities are still 95% worried about students between the age of 18 and 25, and are teaching them in largely very traditional ways, I'm afraid. And so what about everyone over the age of 25 who is facing this unprecedented level of disruption, and where education is surely the absolutely essential first ingredient to actually get ahead of what could be very major societal problems? If you have people who are displaced from the workforce, who have no future in the traditional society, and there's going to be a lot of them. So the requirement is urgent, and it isn't just at an educational level. It's at a governmental level, where there also seems to be a gap. Markus?
I conveniently completely disagree with what you guys said. And that's not on the skills gap or higher education preparing for jobs. I think this is too late. Higher education is too late in life anyways, and it's not about skills. I think that the skill problem is something that will be solvable with businesses like yours. It's in good hands. But what about the kids? What about kids and their journey into a creative learning experience? Because what we as an employer learn, and you're probably also employers, what we learn is we don't even hire for hard skills so much anymore. What we hire for way more is this a lifelong learner? Is this a person who can, out of their own interests, has that self-efficacy to say, I'm a learner, I can learn whatever. And that is what kids need to learn at school, and schools need to be way more collaborative for that. So while I'm a huge fan of teachers, and in my life I have met very, very few bad teachers, I'm totally frustrated by the system that's built around them, what we call the education system, because that doesn't enable collaborative learning, that doesn't enable creative development, and what we need is lifelong learners. And it's not only to get them into jobs and to keep them into jobs, it's to make them citizens of the world, people who can survive in an ever faster changing environment. So I'm really worried about that. And the deepest worry is I don't see this as a problem that companies like you or us can actually solve.
Going to that, no, I'm talking about going deeper on that. I'm hearing, no, that this is about changing the system, no. Who is the like when we deal, because we've done it in the past, no, when I deal with startups, we all talk about the word ecosystem, no? Who is in charge of changing this? No? Are the regulators, the governments, the universities, you guys? Who has I believe it's a responsibility of all of you, no? But who are the main actors here, and who should take action on this, no? Pierre?
Tough question, but basically everybody. You have your own responsibility to increase and maintain your employability, to learn all year round. I usually tell my new hires at Openclassrooms that if they don't learn and have like proper trainings every single month, there is something wrong, because they'll be left aside at some point. So every individual needs to invest in their own training and learning journey. But then it's true that it's also employers' responsibility, it's also a governmental responsibility, so it's the responsibility of universities and vocational training providers and companies like us which need to really make their offerings evolve and change and impact a massive scale that hasn't been done before. So I would say, first of all, it's the people themselves. It's a cultural and mindset shift that we need to inject in the system.
Simon?
So we've taken the path at FutureLearn that we want to work with universities, governments, employers, rather than to try to disrupt them. So we partner very well, and we're trying to be a catalyst for the digital transformation of our partners. And sometimes that feels like the harder way to do it, but we know that if we can get those brands starting to really move forward digitally, the impact of what we can do together is so much greater than anything FutureLearn could do on its own. So, but I would just say, with some causes for more optimism, all of these companies are ones that a few years ago, many commentators would question if we would still be in existence today. And actually, all three companies have very strong progress to demonstrate in those last few years. And I think maybe we are reaching something of a tipping point where actually the platforms and the traditional sector, the system, are maybe starting to find it a bit easier to work together and make the bigger leaps that are going to be required.
Okay. Markus?
I love the point about not trying to disrupt, but rather partner. I think that's what we all need to do in education. Partner between the companies that are there, the digital players, but also partner with the institutions that are there. Some of them are fantastically good, and some of them we have to ignite a bit the willingness to partner, and especially in my country that's so underdeveloped. So I think the partnering part is important, and I think a lot of what we need for the future of education is what we still need to find out. The first thing is to identify what the need is and where the different needs are in primary education and secondary education and lifelong learning, and these are completely different animals.
Okay. Time's up. I fear that Elena is going to kill me if we keep on going. Not yet. Okay. Final question then for you guys. One of the things that people talk about the platforms and the business you manage is the lack of accreditation of the courses, no? How are you going to? Is that first of all? You think that's a problem? And how do you plan, if it is? How do you overcome that? No.
Sorry, the problem is what? Sorry,
the lack of accreditation of the
lack
courses?
of accreditation of courses. It is also one of the reasons at FutureLearn that we work with the universities and other accrediting bodies and organizations, and trying to enable them and try to help them find ways to deliver meaningful, credible education that meets employability requirements. So, for example, we are focusing a lot on development of micro-credentials that are larger than a short course, but sit well below a full degree, but are something meaningful that have credit, have accreditation, and can over time be stacked together to build to a master's degree or a bachelor's degree, an undergraduate degree. So we think it's very, very important. It does make life harder, but it will make our propositions stand out in the market if you can offer meaningful accreditation.
Okay.
Pretty much the same as you probably understood, where we already have degree accreditation at Openclassrooms, so we build our degree programs in partnership with accreditation bodies. We're seeking UK accreditation and US accreditation as well, because right now we have a French accreditation with European recognition. But I do think that accreditation is still a need on the market right now, for a matter of recognition in terms of the quality of the program that you deliver, but also in terms of access to public funding, because most of the grants, scholarships, tuition fees that could be covered by employers, by the government, are usually tied to accreditation, and it's a massive problem in Europe, but also in the US with Pell Grants. So I do think accreditation, although will evolve, is still a requirement for the market right now.
Okay.
For us, the accreditation is or the credit is if somebody can speak in real life, and if they can make themselves understood. And for us, when I speak from the employer side, we care less and less about credits, and we do more and more our own assessment. So hopefully that will go away. That people learn for credits rather than learn to get better at what they do.
Okay, I think we don't have time for more. Okay, so thank you very much. There was a great panel. I thought it was going to be a complicated panel because you're Germany, the UK, France, and then Spain. I thought we were going to fight, but well, we can fight on the other stage. Thank you very much for behaving, making my job easy.